What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? Welcome back to another episode of All Things Events and All Things Behind the Scenes with your girl, Nina Payne. Thank you so much for joining us. This show is, like I said, about all things events. We talk about what happens before the event, during the event, after the event. We talk to dynamic professionals in the field that manage all the details. And then we talk about how to navigate the business of doing events. And so all of that happens here. So thanks again for being here. Today, I'm excited about our special guest. We met socially around town, and she's the sister and marketing expert behind the amazing soul artist Dwele. We worked together on a few events, actually. Then the next thing I know, she started a nonprofit in Ghana, Africa. She made the brave move not too long after that, and now she calls Africa her home. She's the city lead for SoFar Sounds in Detroit. She started a similar program in Africa as well. She is the founder and president of MentorHer in Ghana. She is the festival director of Martha Vineyard's African American Film Festival. She started several other companies that we'll talk about. I don't know how she does it. Please enjoy this special conversation with Kindra Parker. Kindra!
Hello.
How are you, lady?
I am wonderful. I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm awesome. And I'm just glowing because, we're connecting in this way and I get a chance to kind of like, for those who don't know you, introduce you, and for those who do know you, reconnect with the amazing person that you are. So I'm excited that you're here.
I could not be happier.
So first of all, we have to explain what's going on and where you are. So just give a brief introduction and tell people where you're actually broadcasting from.
So I am currently in Accra, Ghana. I relocated here January 1st. So I call it bicontinental because I still have my house in Detroit. I mean, it sounds expensive, but okay.
Yeah, that too.
I still have projects going on, back in the States, but I'm rooted here for now.
That's what's up. And so what are you currently working on? Like, what are you currently doing right now?
So, as you said, I am the festival director for the Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival. I did that last year. So I'm doing that. So we start planning pretty much like right now. So that's getting kicked off. But I also have a nonprofit called MentorHer Ghana. It's a mentoring program for teenage girls in Ghana and rural parts of Ghana. I've been doing that since 2019. So another reason that I came here was to be closer to my girls and to really, get the organization funded and to just focus a little more on my team here. And also, I am still the city lead for SoFar Sounds Detroit, which is a company. We do secret pop-up concerts in Detroit. So I'm still putting all of the concerts together with the venues and the artists and everything from here. And I'm actually flying back to Detroit next week to do our big Valentine's Day concert. So, yeah.
And here's the thing that people don't realize. I think people like you and people that I'm hoping to interview on the show, they're just doing so many things, and it's part of your life. This is part of who you are. You like so like being multifaceted and doing all these things at one time. Do you consider it difficult, challenging? Is it part of your DNA? Are you adding more things? Like, what does that look like?
I think it's very much part of my DNA because it feels natural. And then I really don't notice kind of how crazy it is until other people say things. And I'm like, oh yeah, that might be weird. I'm actually, another thing I'm working on is I have a farm here in Ghana. So
of course you do.
Right. But it's kind of a starter farm. So I'm learning that because I am really interested in the agriculture here because it's a booming market. So I'm like, so on the weekends, I'll either go up to Kwewu where Kwewu, they'll kill me if I say it wrong,
Okay.
where my girls are, or I'll, go to another region where the farm is. So
My
it's like,
goodness. My goodness. Okay, okay. So we discussed, or at least you talked about. I know that's probably not all that you do, but we've talked about those four things. We did talk about. I know there's a juice company coming or something that you talked about. Is
mhm.
that
Which is part of why I'm learning the agriculture climate, because I eventually do wanted to do a juice company and, found a manufacturing production plant here in Ghana.
Of course she does. Of course she does. She's a beast. I love it. I absolutely love it. Um, I think there's a journey, right? Let's talk about kind of where you started and how you got interested in. Um, let's talk about entrepreneurship first. Like just owning
Okay.
companies or nonprofit. Like how do you get from I'm a young girl and I'm going to school and yada boom, and how do I get to now I am doing these 4 or 5 major things. I live in another country. Like how does it start?
Well, I think my first kind of pseudo entrepreneurship when I made up cards. I didn't really have a company, but I made up cards with like, a fictional name and handed it out to people because I was doing work for people that I wanted to get paid for. I think I was like 19 and I didn't, necessarily know to go, like file a company and do the whole, articles of incorporation. But I knew that I could do work and people would pay me for it. So as far as like,
Mm,
because I was with that Detroit hip hop crew. What up, though?
what up,
So
though?
I did, press releases and press kits and things like that. So record release parties, things like that. I think I really realized it was an actual thing that I needed to incorporate as a business when my brother got signed to Virgin Records in 2003. And I had already been doing things, locally for people. So I just called up Virgin Records. I called his PR person and I said, can I help? Like, what can I do? And at the time I was studying PR at Wayne State. So I said, I'm a
Mm,
PR student. I know I can do something. Give me work.
okay, okay. We,
and
we 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 have to stop there because I think what's missing is that something in you said I when I call this person, I'm gonna tell them, you know what I mean? Like, what was it that
yeah,
said, I had I trust myself, or I'm confident enough, or I want this badly enough? Like, what was it that made you make that call? Because, so many people don't make the call. Like,
right.
what was
I
it?
think I think because the job was, if I'm thinking of, my brother and Virgin, the job was to tell people about this new album that he has, right? Like tell people he's coming out. I was already doing that. I was a part
Hmm.
of this group called OK Player. And we had people all over the world. It was like OK Player was actually the first social media, like before Facebook and everything. So I was already like, Dwele is the greatest. Have you heard this song? So I knew that I could, just turn it into more of a professional, strategy and do it. So it was, I think maybe that really helped that he was my brother because I was really passionate about it. Like
And so,
I
who's
wanted
your
to.
brother again? You want to go ahead and introduce what we're talking about?
Oh, Dwele. He is R&B singer, formerly signed to Virgin. He's now indie, and also I was on that first album. You remember that? I'm the Lady at Mahogany.
Oh,
So,
right.
right. So I had a little bit of vested interest that
Wow,
the
that's
album did
right.
well.
Okay, okay, okay. So where does your confidence come from? Because to me, in order for you um to know that you can make that call, to know that you were already involved in doing the work, but it still took some to
Yeah.
say, Virgin Records, hey, dude, what are you doing? I need to be able to do this work. Where do you think that confidence comes from?
I'm sure, absolutely 100% sure it comes from my parents.
Mm,
My mom was she had this thing. if I said the word can't, the can't was like a bad word in our house. Like I could not say the word can't. If I said the word can't, she made me say my full name and say, I can do anything I want. I can do anything I want to do. I mean, literally every time I said the word can't, like
We had that
she
in our
did
household
this
too. I
until the day she
understand.
passed away. I could not say the word can't, and I was 30 something.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's what's up.
So it's really not in my vocabulary. And she gave me a lot of exposure. Like I started traveling with her when I was 12. We went to French Riviera. When I was 15, we went to London,
Mm.
Paris, Montreal, Quebec. We traveled a lot. So I think everything is always possible in my head. Like I didn't really see any barriers to anything.
So that's how you're able to just have the confidence to move to a different country. You were already introduced to that very early on. Shout out to
Absolutely.
mom. Shout
Yeah.
out. Like, being able to equip you with those type of tools, right? To
Yeah.
be able to enhance and to build your confidence and be able to move like you do. That makes so much more sense to me now. Okay. So like so tell them more. You went to your Birch Records PR and then what happens?
Yeah, and they said, sure, kid. And they sent me all of his promo material. There's still stuff in my garage today.
Oh
Um,
my.
and I got to work. I started mailing things out, doing a lot of social media. And remember, this was early on. This was 2003. So, and I just happened to be an early adapter to social media. So I was able to do that work. And finally, it's funny because I think I worked for about a good 6 months, and then I was like, "Can you pay me for this? Like, where's the check?"
Ding 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 ding.
And
Here's
then
some money.
that's what brought on the entrepreneurship part of it because I was like,
Mm.
I probably should be able to buy a pair of shoes at this point.
Right,
Um,
right, right.
and yeah, that's what kind of kicked it off for me.
So, which is a whole nother lesson in itself, right? We've been told in entrepreneurship, if you're doing something you're passionate about, and you would do it for free, that's something
Hmm.
that you can build a company off of. And
Hmm.
so, is that something that you agree with? You lived it.
Absolutely,
You lived it.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
did you do the 9 to 5 thing? Were you talk about your transition between like working as an entrepreneur, then corporate, then back? Like what was that life like where now you're like full in it?
So I ironically, not ironically, whatever. I've been working in corporate since I was 17.
Mm.
Which is, very young, but I worked at AAA. And I used to go in there in my business suits on and do
Girl,
real
me
work. And
too.
so I did that all through school. And then I went away to school. I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston,
Mm.
and I worked through school there. And then when I came back, I finished at Wayne State with a PR degree, and I worked back at AAA, all corporate there. So I kind of always had to do everything I wanted to do in addition to the 9 to 5. It always was a 50-50 type of thing until I was working. I was back in Detroit. I was working at a venture capitalist firm as like the marketing associate, and something in me was just like, start your own company, quit and start your own company. And I was like, and I did it. I just was like, hey guys, I'm not coming back. It's been real. And
See, what I know of what I know that I know that I know is that courage to make that decision. Being able to say, okay, I'm gonna start my own company and I'm not gonna be back. How do you get there? Like, what
I
was
think
that?
it was like a nagging. It was like I couldn't ignore it. It was,
Hmm.
and people were calling me for stuff, right? People were, can you do a press kit? Can you come to me to Toronto to do blah blah blah? Can you? And I was saying no to so many things that I wanted to do. And I
Mm.
think at that point I was like, I can't keep not, doing what I want to do. And there's money that comes with it. It would be different,
Hallelujah.
right?
Hallelujah.
But it'd be different if it was all for free. But these people were trying to pay me, and I was like, "Oh, I can't. I have to,
Go to
this."
AAA.
Yeah, and I was like, "Yeah, no." So it's really, I couldn't not do it.
And so your first company was called?
My first company was Larimar Entertainment.
Mm.
It's still going on today.
Mm-hmm.
But that was my artist management, artist relations. I was doing artist creative direction, PR and marketing, but it was all centered mostly around music industry.
So that is a very good segue because talking about entertainment management is part of who we're talking to and shedding light on the stuff that happens behind the scenes that people have no idea. So in your artist management days or artist promotion days, can you share a story of um, and we all have them in this
Look, I'm
like,
like,
I'm gonna just put a disclaimer on that. Any story that you could share that people
okay,
would enjoy behind the scenes that wouldn't expose anything. That's not that we're not that type of show. We're not trying to expose
right.
and drama, but I want people to understand all the things that have to happen, and us as artist management folks, and what we have to do in order to make sure that that artist hits that stage, or what we have to do to make sure the artist is comfortable, or all those types of things. So anything in that area that you can share. First of all, some of the artists that you work with, and then tell us about something that is funny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll do a hodgepodge, right? Because there's a million examples of things.
Yeah.
I, I have worked with a lot of indie artists. Probably no one that anyone has really heard of.
Mhm.
And some you may have, but we won't mention their names. Um, But I mean, everything from, I had an artist one time that had a full on nervous breakdown like 20 minutes before the show.
Oh my.
Nobody could find them. I figure out where they might be. They're like balled up in fetal position crying. And I have to woo, 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 woo to
Yes, you
get you
do.
on this stage.
Mhm.
So there's another, one had a wardrobe malfunction. I had a particular dress on that I had to basically disassemble my dress
Oh. Oh yeah. Been there.
hers, right?
Mhm.
It's
Mhm. Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
and it's, and then other things. Sometimes it's not your artist. Sometimes you're fighting the venue for
Yeah.
your artist.
Mm.
Sometimes you have to get way more gully than I'm comfortable with. um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yes.
it's like I had to be like, okay, what would so and so do? Like,
Yep.
but
So,
yeah,
tell
I
so
think.
tell us about that because I think as a
Mhm.
woman in this industry, in the entertainment industry specifically, there's kind of a, I don't want to say stigma. There's just a thing about women
Yeah,
and in an entertainment or male dominated space. And so I had to deal with being behind the scenes in production and that sort of thing. I was the boss. So when I walked in and there's 50 something people I need to manage to get this show up and running, oftentimes I would run into older white gentlemen or who have been in the industry for 59 years, and they didn't know how to, they were being very dismissive or,
absolutely.
whatever. But at the end of the day, I had to like, put my push-up bra on or grab my whatever, and we got to get to the bottom of what we're going to do because both of us are going to benefit by putting this artist up on stage. And so I would have to confront and more often than I would like to, and make sure that everybody knows there without and there's a balance of not doing that where you pissing everybody off, but doing
Right.
that enough where you can get the show up and your artist is going to win. And so do
Absolutely.
you have any did that happen to you? Did you deal with that in
Oh,
entertainment? Well, I can't say did you do it? I know you have.
yeah. Yeah,
Um
absolutely.
share something
Absolutely.
about that.
I think, and like I said, it happens so frequently. I'll say that, sometimes I'm smiley. I am friendly. I'm nice, but I'm also professional. I have a really, like deep business acumen. So if something is not going right, I'm not going to smile through it. I'm not going to let it go. So I think, some people that underestimate you really don't expect you to kind of, come from left field, but you have to, like you said, the show must go on. It has to be done right. My artist has to be paid, or whatever the situation is. So definitely gotten some of those, oh, we'll pay you later, or we'll send this. And
Mm.
it's like, no, we're going to do this right now, or this isn't going to happen. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
And then there's, you get men that hit on you and want to distract you. And it's like, I'm not here for that.
Mm.
So, maybe you can take me to dinner next week, but
Right.
right now I have something to do. Yeah. So, and sometimes I've come up against, really super like chauvinist, to where I might play the game just to get through whatever the night, just to get through what we need to do. And then when it's all over, I'll come back and say, that was completely inappropriate, or, I'll go over their head or whatever. But, it's a fine line, right? But
Yeah.
like you said, you have to get it done. But I'm not ashamed to say it. Sometimes I bat my eyes to, get past
It's
the
true. It's
dairy.
true. That's why I said put my push-up bra on, because it depends on who I'm
Exactly.
talking to and whether or not
Exactly.
and how I'm gonna be able to get through it. Do I need to do we
Absolutely.
go toe to toe? We need to go. We going there, or oh hey, oh yeah, could you pick that up for me? Like whatever we need to do at the end of the day, I need to get this artist on stage.
That's
You know what I
right.
mean? That's my job. And then you're in the way, so I'm
Absolutely.
going around you, over you, through you, under you, whatever. But we're gonna get this
Yeah.
artist on stage, and so I have to be girly. I may do that, or I have to talk over you. I may do that, whatever. So that
Absolutely.
thing, I think in all of us women who are behind the scenes have that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who are successful in what we do, whatever we're calling that, confidence, work ethic, professionalism. We have commonalities in the space in order, because we know without a shadow of a doubt, we have to get this done. We have to get it
Exactly.
done. And you're in
It's
my
not
way.
an option.
You're in my way. So going around you over I think developing that over time helps a couple different areas. You in entrepreneurship, you when you had to do all of that, like so how do you or what skills do you think you gathered from that that kind of like you use now, or like you continue to use in the nonprofits and all the other things that you're doing?
I think the biggest skill is grace, right? Like that
Mm,
is the bottom line. Is you have to know how to glide through things. You have to be able to ebb and flow. It's grace, and that gets developed and fine tuned over time.
of course.
So yeah, grace. Confidence, of course. And I think once you do something once and
Mm,
you see that you can do it, it's
mhm.
it's a lot easier to, to do it and
Let that make
evolve.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I remember in the very beginning of managing bands, I had to go into the promoter's office at a club and get money for the band. The band wasn't very good, but my job was to get the money, and there were so many things I had to do differently to get him to pay, and at one
Hmm.
point, I hired a bodyguard, and I told a bodyguard to go get it, because that's what type of seedy places we were in, and it just became too dangerous for me to go into these rooms with these promoters and get this money.
So you told me that story however many tens of years
10 years
ago,
ago.
and I actually learned from that, and I started doing that. I
Did you?
did that because yeah, I remember it was a seedy place, and I was like, okay, Nina said she had to get a bodyguard. So I was like,
I forgot I
he
told you
wasn't a
that.
bodyguard, but it was somebody that acted as, because I remembered that story and I was really uncomfortable, and I was like, I'm not about to go in there stuttering.
And it could happen. Anything could happen. We
Yeah,
have to, as equal as I think I am, there are just some situations where it would just be better if he'll receive this better from a man. You know what I
absolutely.
mean? And
And
even as
that
it comes out my mouth, like I don't want people to get misconstrued. Like
yeah,
but we are under attack. And these little promoter offices. Have you ever seen junkie promoters? These promoter offices can be in the back bottom stairs of some seedy club, and it's
absolutely.
you and him in a closed door. And so it was just, safer to have somebody else do it. So
I remembered that story, and
that's
I
so
followed
funny.
suit.
That is hilarious, Kendra. I didn't even know I told you that.
I'll be listening.
Girl. Okay, so we're gonna switch up a little bit. So being a boss, and you're a boss in a variety of different areas, Right now it's like super trendy to be a boss, you badass boss, bitch, blah, blah, blah. And it's trendy to have a business. And, I'm starting a business. I rented out this car and this Airbnb and I'm taking all these pictures and doing the thing. Um, and so, and what I have found, even in the past few years, I get the call after the person calls that person because they have great pictures and they have, they look fantastic and they got the hair. And then they get hired and they screw up. And then I get the call that said, "Hey, I used this girl on Instagram and she, said she had this resume as long as I don't know what." I said, "Did you check references? Did you do anything?" And then I'm cleaning up the mess. And
Yeah.
so what can you can say to like aspiring entrepreneurs or people who see that stuff online and they think that it's that, right? They think it might be the glam and the thing, and it could be that. I'm just saying, what can you say to aspiring entrepreneurs on how to get started and how to be authentic in their business?
Yeah. One thing I'll say that might answer this. One thing about me, I'm a workaholic. I know I am. And I get caught up in what I'm doing. So when I'm on a job with an artist, whatever, I'm usually not cute at all. I'm usually, I have broken nails. Am sweating. I'm probably dirty because I've been picking up boxes. Like, it's not about, looking like anything when you're working. So I think that, oh, Nina, you've seen me at what, 6 o'clock in the morning looking like,
Yeah, we've seen each other. Yes, yes,
right.
yes, and
So
yes.
I think that the pictures are cute and getting a logo, that's real cute, but it's work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of it's very humbling. You have to humble yourself. You can't be a narcissist and do
Mm.
the type of work that we do, right? Like, you can't when I'm especially I'll use the film festival. It's all encompassing. I
Mm.
am sun up to sundown. I mean, pretty much from 6, 7 a.m. to 1, 2 in the morning. I am like huffing,
Yeah.
So I can't, and the film festival, that's like, it was all types of, the Obamas were there and, Tyler Perry and Viola Davis and this and that. And I think I said to myself, I'm going to take 2 days to dress up. The rest of the time, like, luckily, I dressed up on the day Viola was there, so I got a picture. But on the day
Right.
that Morris Chestnut was there, I was looking like who did I live there? So it's not it's not glamorous,
Yeah, yeah. I think
and it
we
can be
just
great, but you have to build that time in. Like, I specifically said, I'm dressing up for, I think it was like Friday, Tuesday, and Thursday, because either I knew somebody was going to be there or something special was happening, but it was strategic that I had that dress on.
right, right. You had to think about it.
I had to think about it real hard and plan
And
and
so I
bring it
think
back.
so what are some of the dangerous things that you think that are happening online when people new people trying to be an entrepreneur and they what we do, we Google everything or we look at Instagram and we look at the folks doing the things. What do you think some of the dangers in that could be?
I just think, people are so creative nowadays.
Hmm. You'll put creative in quotes. Creative.
I mean, creative with their own imagination, as like, they'll say, "Oh, I did this and I did that and I was that," and you find out like they were really like an extra in the movie, and that scene didn't even make it,
Let's just
and
call it what it is. People be lying.
I
They
mean,
be lying. They
there's
be
other
lying.
words for creative, but but yeah, I think like you said, you looking at people on online, anybody can put together the persona that they want you to see.
Hmm.
So it's really kind of dangerous to go off of sight, not knowing anybody's reputation, because sometimes, and that's this is a new space also, working internationally. there's so many people, coming back and forth to Ghana, and some have great reputations and some have bad reputations. Well, everybody's reaching out to you, so you don't know who's who unless you do your research. So, and you ask people, and you talk to people like, do you ever work with so and so? Well, who is this?
Yes.
Yeah, so you really have to be careful with who you find online and their reputation.
I love that. I think, being able to have a reputation, right? So if you ask questions about somebody that you trust, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? They may have the best pictures online, or they may have the worst pictures online. When you can
Mm-hmm.
actually talk to somebody like, Kendra Parker, we got a
Right.
project coming up. What you think? You know what I mean? Of
Exactly.
somebody that you trust.
Yep.
It goes a long way. And that's why it's so important, reputation and work ethic, and not burning any bridges when you're working on all of these projects, right? Because the world is small. It's way smaller than we think. And then when you're in
Listen,
niches like we were in, people know people that know people, and you could ruin everything, which is a good
absolutely.
transition in. So some of the things that I've learned, like being tour manager, for instance, some of the things that happen on tour buses or happen with your artists, um, that when I was doing tour management, that was something you would never, ever, ever, ever share with people. You would share in
Mhm.
your immediate circle, but it's not something you would post online or anything
Right.
like that. So what do you think some of the differences are, like today's
Oh,
entertainment folks
so,
than kind of that are
so
different than before?
we have cameras back then. So
Right. One saying there wasn't any foolishness going on. You just didn't
we
record it.
right. We didn't have Twitter and Facebook to write statuses about what was going on in those tour buses.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. And you would get blackballed. Like if you started like
Oh
talking
gosh.
too much and saying stuff about certain people and stuff like that, because you got those types of gigs based on your reputation and who vouched for
Absolutely.
you, because it's an
Absolutely.
intranet of folks. And so if you
Absolutely.
start bad mouthing the wrong producer or the wrong, artist, or you was telling something about something, you could be destroyed. Where it seems like now it's just a little bit different, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, now it's too much, too many ways to disseminate information now.
There are, and I think about that, like, if it had been more prominent, we'd be in a different age, but I think some of those things that we learned, I try to teach, those who are coming up, because there's
Mhm.
something to, integrity and, morality and some of that stuff.
Yeah. And I
What do you
think
think?
I think this age of social media too has taken away a lot of the, because I feel like you said, sometimes these things happen. We didn't even want to go tell everybody.
No,
You know, we
no.
we would just be like, woo. And like you said, we had an immediate circle that understood,
Mhm.
the
But
industry
they
and us
but
and
they're not
everything.
telling anybody, you know?
Right. But
Yeah.
I think now with this culture and social media and kind of I want to be the first to say something, it's changed where they feel like they need to just, throw up information. And it's
Yeah.
like, when you're, especially in the entertainment industry, you have to figure out a way to hone that and bring it back in, because there's a lot of stuff, not saying that, keeping secrets is like good, but there's just a lot of things that just should not be shared. That's
Yeah.
just, because a lot of entertainment is about brands, right? It's
Mhm. Mhm.
about, and these people work hard to build their brand. So it has to be somebody to protect it. So if you want to get far in this industry, you need to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think it's also too like what the goal of that artist was and that sort of stuff. And so like an artist like R. Kelly and the things that happened were illegal. We're just gonna put
Mhm.
that. And so as if I was his tour manager, um, I would have shouted from the mountains. But
Right.
that's just a little sidebar for me. But there are certain things about certain characteristics of artists that you keep to the chest, but
Exactly.
not anything illegal. So let's
No, no,
just
no. Yeah, yeah.
let's just make that very
Nothing
clear.
dangerous.
Nothing dangerous. I don't want to put people in danger. Like there's all of that type of stuff. But there's so much other things. There's so many other things that we could talk about in that vein. So let's move on to um mental health. And so I know that oftentimes when you're in the state of doing the event, you're going and going and going and going and going and going and going, and then all of a sudden the event is over and there's this drop. I've talked to a
Mhm.
lot of people in the event industry where they're, the especially festival owners, event owners that they do that event once a year, and then there's this like thing, right? Because nothing is happening for just a period of time. You get like this
Yeah,
drop off. Do you feel that? Have you ever went through anything like that after doing an event?
absolutely, absolutely. And just recently, the festival, like you said, um, it's so funny because my team, so the festival hired me I was the festival director, but I also brought on three people through my company, or two people through my company, so it was three of us all together. And we were the festival team in general. We were a really tight knit team. We had to be. But after the festival, we would all just like call each other and just like sit on the phone, like, what you doing?
Because it's so intense, right? For like 9 months, you're like intense,
Yeah.
intense, intense, meetings, talk, 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 and then all of a sudden, nothing.
Nothing. So after the festival, because we were on Martha's Vineyard and I used to live there, so I'm really familiar with the island. I took a week off. Well, I thought I was taking a week off. I ended up still working,
Mhm,
but
mhm, mhm.
but it was a week on the island that I just kind of was trying to decompress from what just happened, and even in that, it was just so weird. It was just the weird. And one of my team members stayed with me, and it was just, she's also one of my best friends, but it was the weirdest feeling. And we just kept
Mhm.
looking at each other like, is it really over? Is it,
Right,
what do we do now? Like, what should we?
right, right, right. You're in this
Yeah.
space. Are there some things that you do kind of to protect your mental health or in this space? What are you doing? What are your self-care routines, Miss Kendra?
You know what? I probably should have more things.
Mm,
I treat myself, right? So
mm,
whatever that means, right? If it's an ice cream bar, if it's, I got an extra 30 minutes, I'm going to, get a shoulder massage. I find little ways to treat myself. And I try to use the environment that I'm in. So every city is special. If I'm in New Orleans, I'll go get my, Cafe Du Monde. Like if I'm in, it's little stuff like that. So that's how because I'm like, I deserve
all this
this
freaking work
beignet.
we're doing. I deserve that ice cream cone, Cafe Du Monde,
Yes,
with my
I
pinky up and
deserve a
eating it.
foot massage for 15 minutes in the mall.
So, well, that's good because I think a lot of times too, because we tend to be workaholics in this space, because there's just the deadline is the deadline, and you work to get it done, and so
Mhm.
oftentimes I think we forget to take care of ourselves, right? We forget
Absolutely.
that we just worked 24 hours, we've been up all night. There's often times where you have to be up all night for various reasons. I think just the nature of the beast to get it
Mm-hmm.
up the curtain
Mm-hmm.
so that you experience an amazing experience when you sit in the chair. So that's
That's
really
right.
what that's about, right? And so we have to just make sure that we are doing the things that we want to do to make ourselves feel better, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And like I said, luckily, in doing events, and I've worked nationally from West Coast to East Coast. I always try to use wherever I am to be a little adventurous, or just treat myself to whatever. If I'm in Kentucky, I get mint julep. I kind of put it like that. And I
Okay.
hate that this is all food. I'm really not.
I just think
But
about that. It is all food.
I'm like, wait, it's other stuff too. I just can't think of it right
Well, you
now.
said massage, 15,
Yes,
a
that's
foot
I will
massage.
do that.
Okay.
Again, I'll go get I usually don't have time for mani pedi, but sometimes if I have an hour, I will get my nails done. I'll just throw little stuff in.
So that leads me to ask, how do you manage like time management? Do you have a tool that you use? Are you a writer in a journal type of person? Do you pull all your calendars in Google? Like, what do you do to manage your time?
That is a good question. maybe you can tell me.
But it
No.
wasn't on the series of questions I sent you.
I'm, and I hate to say this, but I'm really ruled by my Google Calendar.
Yeah.
I'm because there's so much going on. I just have to make sure everything is in one place so I can be like, okay, because on top of that, I'm also a social person. I love, hanging out with my
You
friends,
do.
concerts, and stuff like that. So I have to know exactly what's going on, when, where I'm expected to be, how much time I have in between things. So yeah, I probably should use another tool. Like I probably should, yeah, figure this out. But
I mean, I'm all for if it's working,
yeah,
if it's working for you. If you find that there are things that are not working about it and you want to enhance it, then do that. But I'm always like, if it's working, don't have to break it.
yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't need
I
fixing.
between Google Calendar and my phone alarm, we good.
That's it. And strange enough, I also use it. I have lots of calendars, so I merge all my calendars together because if I don't,
Yes,
some things are gonna
right.
get missed, and that includes personal stuff. And so I
Hmm.
think my daughter's friends are like, "What do you mean you had to schedule lunch with your mom and it had to be on her calendar? Because if it's not, we're not going to
Yeah,
lunch." That's just how it is. There's just so
yeah,
many things that I'm managing at the same time, and so time is of the essence. And so I think we're good if we're using Google Calendar. I use Google Calendar, I write my notes, and I use Google Keep. So it's also so if I'm writing and sitting in a meeting, I'll use Google Keep, and then I import that into my
yeah.
task list and calendar.
I'm actually having a little transitional moment now that I'm here in Ghana because I'm 5 hours ahead of EST.
Oh, girl,
So
I don't
my
even know how you doing
calendars
that.
are a little wonky. And then it's funny. So how about this? So my calendar, I'm 5 hours ahead on GMT. My staff is on Eastern EST. The festival are my bosses. They're on Mountain, right?
Oh,
And my other team members that I'm working with, they are Pacific.
in
So
California.
I'm
Wow.
like working in 4 different time zones. So I have that world clock on my phone, and I'm just like, okay, can I call someone? So what time is it? Oh, 4 a.m. No, okay. Like,
Oh my god. That is
yeah,
a lot. I didn't even think
yeah.
about that, Kendra. That's a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's a lot. And then when we schedule, I have to keep in mind when I'm scheduling things because if I have people in different time zones,
Mhm.
you know. And then it's funny because once the states goes back to daylight savings, then I'll be 4 hours. So all of that 5 hour training I did.
Oh my god. I didn't even think about
Yeah,
that. That's so true.
yeah,
I get all topsy-turvy when I go to Pacific and gotta manage my meetings in Eastern. So
oh
all of
yeah,
that type of stuff where I'm in mountain, like I get that, but I don't think about it from a international space because I've never lived overseas in that sort of thing. So that's a lot. So you definitely need a tool to help you keep on top of
yeah,
things,
yeah,
per time zone. And then when you fly back to the United States, you still have to think about things in Ghana in that
exactly.
time.
Right. Yeah.
Ooh, ooh, child. Okay. All right. So, um, um, who let's talk about giving some advice. So, like, if somebody saw you, Kendra, on here and saw, oh my gosh, she's doing all these amazing things. I really want to like connect with her, do some of the things that she's doing. Like, what advice can you give somebody who wants to be you, entrepreneur, owns a nonprofit, moved internationally, which is a whole different. We can have a whole conversation just on that alone. What kind of advice would you give?
Talk to people. I think it's really important to just get different perspectives and get different you know not only points of views but advice because I've asked the same question to 5 different people and I can get 5 different answers and take a little
Mm,
bit from each. So I think it's really important to tell people what you're doing. That's how I've gotten honestly the furthest
mm,
in my career. I say either what I want to do or what I am doing, and somebody says, "Oh, well, come do this or let me introduce you to this person." So I think it's really important that you can articulate what you're doing, what you want to do, and talk to people.
I love that. I mean, because it's the power of the tongue, right? And putting it
Exactly.
out in the universe and allowing the universe to respond to that. And I think I think we've all kind of benefited from that if you can do that, right?
Right. Yep.
Um, and so let's move into relationships because I know we are winding up our time here, but I just have to have this conversation because, you know, women bosses doing all the things. I think relationships in general can be difficult, but I'm curious to find out about you. You have a famous brother, you are in your immediate family, so that's a different dynamic. How do you date as a boss woman traveling internationally? Like, what are some of the relationship advice you would give to someone who is in your shoes?
I think, and so I'll speak from, like you said, my shoes. It's really important to get to know people.
Mm,
To be very clear about uh, people's intentions, because I have come across people that wanted to date me to get tickets to my brother's concerts.
mhm.
Um, people have dated me so I can, do their marketing plan.
What?
Listen, and then I've dated some people that, told me that, they feel like, I emasculate them because I got a promotion. And I'm like, what do they got to do with you? But okay.
Mm,
So I think it's really, for me, it's important to really get to know the person before I even consider us dating. Like, because people can flip on you real
okay,
quick.
okay, mhm,
Um,
mhm.
so
They can.
yeah, I've had some run-ins. I'm divorced to from an entertainer, and that was interesting. But it was the type of thing where I really, you know, I knew that I was going to be going a completely different direction than that person was going. Um, you know, been engaged a couple of times, girl. Um, but it's important to know why people are seeking you out, and making sure that they really want to get to know the genuine you
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily have anything to offer them
Mhm.
up front.
So do you as a owner of a company, boss woman, babe, whatever you wanna call it, do you when you're seeking dating, are you an online dater? Are you a referral dater? Are you a, come get me at the bar kinda dater? Like, what's your dating style?
So first of all, I don't have time to go to the bar. I probably should make time, right? You know what? I asked my friends for referrals. Nobody has ever like thrown anybody my way. All my guy friends are like, no, no, they're
Uh,
not good enough for you. And I'm like,
oh, good
okay,
lord.
you know what I'm saying? I'm like, what does that mean? So yeah, I would love for somebody to refer somebody. That
Uh-oh,
would
sounds
be
like she's on the market, everybody. Kendra Parker, telephone number. She's on the market, everybody. Oh, look,
no.
festival director. She'll be in DC for the festival. Look her up.
I'm
Uh,
just saying, like, I've tried online. It's always been interesting.
mm.
So I'm really not. I don't think I'm up for online anymore.
Mhm.
I don't have the
It's
energy.
not for everybody. It is not for everybody.
But my best friend married her Tinder date, and
Did
yeah,
she?
they're a beautiful, amazing couple. But yeah, I seem to get the weirdos. So.
That is interesting. I too am divorced, and after divorcing, I had no idea what the rules were. Like I was with
Right.
him for 16 years, and you come out of that, and you're like, okay, now do I ask people like what are the
Yeah.
rules? Like I didn't know the rules, and I'm a rules kind of like like give me the structure, and I can navigate. And so I got online, and I was doing the online dating for a bit, and what it did for me was it helped me figure out what I wanted and what I didn't want. Like, I
Mm,
knew that this relationship I had previously had in my divorce, there were some characteristics about him that I would not wanna repeat. But there
right.
were other things I never even thought about that I was uninterested in, and so that really helped me without having to contact them verbally or see anybody, it helped me kinda just ask the questions of myself, "What do I like about this? What do I want? What not regardless of him, what do I want?" What do I like? What I don't like? Do I like
Mhm.
smokers? Do I like non-smokers? Do I like all of those things that I never even thought about before? So I used it for that and then ended up marrying somebody in the industry. But
Yeah. Yeah, I
but it
mean,
was helpful. It was helpful.
yeah, if you find an evolved man that, is secure and yeah,
That's it right
whoo,
there.
that's it
An
right there.
evolved man. You got to tell me, what does evolved man mean to you?
Evolved, like a man who cares about his own integrity, right? And he cares
Mm,
about, he loves himself. A lot of, okay, we about to start a whole new podcast, Nina.
look.
Okay. Just, I love to see when men love themselves, especially black men. When a black man loves himself, you can see it all over. They're usually married.
Mm,
And as well they should be,
mhm,
but
mhm,
that's the when he can self-correct, when he can apologize, when he has vision. That's a big one for
mm,
me too, vision. Because I'm a visionary, so I'm always looking 5 years ahead and 10 steps ahead. So if you
mhm,
can't do that, we're not compatible. So yeah, I think that evolved, meaning he's worked on himself. He's done the work. He's recognized whatever. Because I've done that.
yeah.
And all of this, I've used it as opportunities to be like, you know what, Kendra, you shouldn't have did that. Or,
Mhm,
that
mhm,
probably wasn't the smartest idea. Or,
mhm.
next time I'm going to. And I would love to find somebody who has also done that work.
I think that's super important. It's emotional intelligence,
Yes.
um, and confidence. I found that confident man, not cocky, but confidence. He
Yes.
know whose he is and who he is,
Yeah.
and he moves in his own space. With us being super busy and got a lot going on, we cannot have the man who is on our shoulder all the time. He's gotta have his own life and his own plan and his own
Mhm.
ideas and chasing those things like as we chase ours. And then be able to support us in our thing as we support them in theirs. Like that is just
Absolutely.
that's the key for me. That confidence and loving themselves, like you said, is
Yeah.
is you moving in the spaces that you move, you gotta have it. There's no way for you to have anything else.
I would love to be an asset to, my partner. I would love to help with, your vision, your company, whatever. But, by the same token, when it's time for me to do my work, I need you to support me also. I need you, working in entertainment and in this event life, there's a lot of celebrities, there's a lot of parties, and sometimes, I'm here, there, and everywhere, and I need you to be secure and confident enough, knowing that whatever I'm doing, wherever I am, like we're still good. I'm
Yeah.
still, you know, yeah. So
So you do deal a lot with insecure men?
yeah, I mean.
That was a big sigh.
Not
Yeah.
on purpose, right? You don't find out until it's too late. You're
Yeah,
just like,
they put on the good game until you "Yep, this is
yeah,
the kind of money I make," or "This is where I'm going," or "I'm hanging out with Morris Chestnut," or and then you
yeah,
deflate them for whatever reason because they didn't have it in the
yeah,
first place. Yeah.
yeah. And it's like, that's the craziest thing because, as you know, all of these events and all of these celebrities, it's just so temporary. Everything is temporary. And if you have a partner at home that's supposed to be your landing, like, why are you worried if I spent, 20 minutes talking to D Nice? Like, who cares? I came home. Like,
Right, right, right. Yeah. That's
so
that insecurity. That's that lack of
yeah,
confidence. And so,
yeah.
okay, well, I mean, one last question, and then we're gonna move into promo. So, do you take on mentors? I mean, mentees, and or can people schedule consulting time with you? Can they get in your DMs and ask you a couple questions? Like, where can they connect with you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, that's what I do here. I have my mentoring program here.
Mm.
So I totally believe in that. I answer questions in my DMs all the time.
Okay,
So like
just DM you.
um
You want to share your social media where people can find you?
sure. On Instagram, I am Motown Girl KP. That's really probably the best place. That's where
Okay.
I am the most. My Facebook is private. I try to keep that like just friends that I no faces to. So, because I'll be saying some crazy stuff. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. But yeah, that is another way to protect. But I know whatever I do and say on IG is for the world. Whatever I do and say on Facebook is for my crew. So
that's what's up. Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, absolutely. I'm open.
So it's Motown Girl KP?
Correct. Yes.
Motown Girl KP on Instagram. Make sure that you follow Miss Kindra Parker and her journey of now that she's in Ghana. I know I am watching everything that she's doing because I'm going and she's got a room for me.
Visit
So I'm going to
me.
visit in Ghana. And we're going to do a whole trip together and
Yes.
see all the things. The things that are happening in Africa now are just, progressive and innovative.
Amazing.
And so
Yeah.
tell a little bit about that and then we'll move on. What's happening in Ghana?
Yeah. Oh gosh, so much. I'll start with the most recent thing. So last night, I actually emceed the very first SoFar Sounds Accra in Ghana. So the very first SoFar Sounds in Ghana. When SoFar Sounds hired me back in 2021, I was already going back and forth to Ghana. So I was saying, like, I'd love to see this in Ghana, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, oh, yeah, whatever. Okay. And I just kept bringing it up. I kept like, Ghana, Ghana, Ghana. And they were like, focus on Detroit, Kindra. Like, I was like, okay, but so there was a local artist here that ended up, we kind of tag teamed, and he did a living room, SoFar Sounds living room show from Ghana. And I said, you got to get a chapter there. And he ended up, letting them start a chapter there. So, yeah. So I kind of, just helped it what I could. And last night was the first one, and he asked me to MC it. So that was really exciting.
Nice. And where could they find that if they want to check out SoFar Sounds?
SoFarSounds.com. And there's 430 chapters. So any city you're in, you can find whatever. But if you're ever in Ghana, look up Accra. There's also there's a really cool collaboration that a few friends of mine, we just put together an entity called One Africa. And it's kind of just a group of diasporans. It's about 8 of us from the UK, the US, and we're just dedicated. We all have nonprofits. So we're really dedicated to bridging the gap between the diaspora from everywhere, the US, the UK, Caribbean, South America, Europe, back to Africa, specifically Ghana. Yeah, right now, but we're eventually going to branch out, and we do events. We're doing some panel discussions and talks, and we'll be doing some online things, but it's really cool. And it's really cool to be able to work with friends and do something like that.
That's a whole nother thing that we didn't even talk about. She's just going to throw that in there at the end of our interview, that she's got this other entity that she's involved in. I told you there was more stuff. I told you Kindra was involved in all kinds of things. I would have put money on it. And if we talk more, there are going to be more things. But thank you so much, Kindra. We got to close. But thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
And sharing with the people, dropping some nuggets and gems and telling your story. Follow Kindra again on Motown Girl KP, right? Motown Girl KP on Instagram. And she's involved in SoFarSounds.com. You can find SoFar Sounds in Ghana now.
Yes.
Because of her. Because she's doing all the things behind the scenes. And thank you again. And join us again back here for All Things Behind the Scenes. I'm your host, Nina Payne. Peace out. Thank you again for joining us for another episode of All Things Behind the Scenes podcast, where we discuss all things events and entrepreneurship. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified of each new episode. You can also follow us on All Things BTS Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. We welcome all comments and suggestions. So let us know what you think. We love hearing from you. So until next time, remember that the only thing that you can guarantee about an event and life is that it will change. Be blessed.